Hey guys, it's Zach with Us versus Herd, coming back today with another video. So I wanted to do a Tastyworks review on whether you should be using the desktop or web platform. Basically, there's two platform choices when you're trading with Tastyworks. They have the downloadable desktop platform, which you see me on frequently, or they have the one that you have online that's not downloadable, it just comes on the website. So you can trade on both. When it first came out, you weren't able to trade on the web platform. It wasn't loading prices. And since it's market closed right now, these aren't going to be moving. So just don't freak out if you don't see them moving at all. They do work. So the different major differences, or on these, I'm going to highlight some of the major differences and some of the biggest key features for all of them for you today, and see which ones you guys like better. And you guys can kind of decide if you're going to use Tastyworks as a brokerage. You can pick which one you'd rather use. So let's start off with the web-based platform, since I've already given somewhat of an overview or review on the desktop platform. As you can see, it's quite different from the desktop version. You can see here, if you use Doe.com, which is what they owned previously, this looks almost exactly like the Doe platform. It's pretty much exactly the same. They slapped on a dark theme rather than a light theme, so it's black rather than white, and they got rid of the dojo and put Tasty Trade down here. So it's not that much different. It's pretty much almost exactly the same. But I'll get into it right now. So this is the home page. On here you'll find trades from the Tasty Traders, people that they have that trade, and these are just the exact trades that they're doing. You'll have a grid here for notable stocks. By the way, these are stocks that they find notable, not stocks that I or someone else finds notable. You can customize it, I'm fairly certain, up to here. You got that one's mine, the grind, but you can change, you can make custom playlists and put them in here however you like. So this is just this main page. It always looks pretty much like this. You have all your information at the top here. Typically, they're just blocked out. So let's look into it here. If you look into the trade tab, this is where you would perform trades. If you've never used a broker, if you never used Tastyworks like this or Doe, then you will notice that it's significantly different than any other brokerage you've ever seen, because it's so unique. This is the curve version right here. If you wanted to trade options on the table, you can click table. This is more traditional. It's still kind of confusing on the table though. I don't like it as much as the curve. I like the curve. And again, if you don't know, Tastyworks is built based on options. So most of the tools benefit options traders. They do not necessarily benefit the stock traders. They mostly benefit options traders. You can trade stock here, but it's pretty simple and it doesn't give you a whole lot. So this is what I use. I use the curve because I trade options. So up here you have the strategies. So these are like what you'd have, short put verticals, long call verticals, short call verticals, iron condors, jade lizards. You got all these strategies here. And basically when you hit go, it opens up the legs on a trade here. As you can see, I'm just using Netflix as an example. I'm not looking for any particular trades because it's market close. So just to show you how this works, you just slide these over and you get different prices. So the interesting thing is when you change these, you'll see the thing down here move. This is the percentage, or the percentage of profitability here, so how likely you are to profit. And then the price, so 65 cents times 100, whatever the price you'll get. And then you have the extrinsic value down here as well. And this will tell you where you stand, which side you're on, neutral, credit or debit. So if you look over here, when you click this, so this is kind of like if you hit this, it'll come up to pretty much the same page. But if you're not ready to go into it yet, you can click this. And it's very, very simplified. So it writes it out for you. So if the price of Netflix winds up being greater than $140.35, your maximum possible profit is $65 by the expiration. So this is basically just spelling it out for you. It's very, very good for beginners and new traders, especially new options traders, because this helps you visualize it better, and it tells you exactly what will happen if you make this trade. And then your max loss. If the price of Netflix ends up being less than 140.35, your maximum possible loss is $135. So like I said, this is very simple and very easy, and it kind of holds your hand through the process. And then it gives you everything here. All the data you need. You got your Greeks, you got your extrinsic, you got your percentage of probability, you got everything here. And so you also have all this other tools on the right here, fairly new, adding it to the toolbox here. But it's interesting to see how it kind of holds your hand through the process. It's very simple, and it makes sure that you know exactly what you're trading before you make the trade. It usually tells you the estimated buying power here, but since it's not a real trade, it's not going to work. And then, so if you want to send the trade, you just hit review and then send order here. So that's just what that tab does. If you look down here, you can change the price of it. So if you wanted a different price, this is the limit order you'd put in. It only allows limit orders, just so you know. You cannot trade on Tastyworks and put in a market order. It only gives you the option to do limit orders. You can unlock it to change it and unlock it again, but you have to lock it before you review and send it. So there's no way for you to do a market order. Only way you can trade on here is if you do the limit order. So if you look up here, this just helps move the strikes. I showed you this before on the desktop platform, but it's also in effect here. These are the commonalities that they have up here from the web platform to the desktop platform. You have the quantity, how many contracts. You see that number change there when I hit the up button or down. How many contracts you want. Expirations, so you'll see here 10 days. You'll go down to 3 days or how many days you want to trade out of the expiration. And then you have the undo and the clear button here. They have an interesting thing up here. They have the futures up here that show you them all the time. You can just kind of sift through them. They're on all the tabs, so even if you change this to, like, let's say, I don't know, Apple, and you went up, the futures don't go anywhere. They're still here. Another thing you'll find up here is the liquidity. So the way Tastyworks works is if there's 4 stars, that's maximum liquidity. When they teach you, so if you were part of their education program on Doe, they taught you that if you have, more than 2 or 3 stars, if you have about 3 to 4 stars, then the liquidity is very high and a good trade. So there's 4 stars, meaning they have a high liquidity. If you have 1 star, you have low liquidity. If 2, you have medium liquidity. 3 is high, and 4 is very high. You see is today's high and low. So the stock price is high and the stock price is low of the day are right here. This is how it ended, the change from where it was yesterday, and the last price that it was at. This is also, this circle here is the IV rank. So the implied volatility rank is right here. You'll see that you can click on it, it'll tell you IV type. So the rank is at 61 right now, which is pretty high, especially for Apple. Right here. And then if you noticed on the left corner here, there's an E. So it notifies me that Apple has earnings. It'll also tell me when I go into this grid box. You can look up these stocks here, and the E on the right here shows that how many days out are to the earnings. So for Metal here, there's 2 days till earnings, and then these are sorted by how high the IV rank is, but we'll come back to that page in a second here. So if you keep looking at what's on the top here, you'll see that it shows you the name of the company, and then if it's market or after hours, and then it'll show here if you're connected or not. So if you miss some kind of like a connection runs out, your Wi-Fi runs out, or breaks up, then you'll go red, so you know that you're not active on the market. And then there's just a bunch of tools here that are pretty interesting. This just shows the correlation. So it's in this stock in correlation to all these other things like Facebook, gold, all these cool things. In correlation to the S&P ETF, 20-year bond ETF, gold ETF. You see all this. It's pretty cool, but it's just some comparisons that they're making. If you go into here, I've never used this, the order chain. I'm assuming it has a cool function. But since Tastyworks doesn't always work, I don't go into the in-depth tools that much. I keep it simple. If you look up here, I don't know if these actually work or not, but they usually do. If I switch this out, there we go. So this is for the working orders. Right here, it shows you if you have any orders that are unfilled. This just shows there's 14 days till the earnings. Like I said, you can go either into the grid or you can go here. On the top, shows you exactly where to find it. Earnings announcement, tell you in 14 days on 5/2 after market close. So it's very specific, holds your hand, gives you the information. And then basically if you go here, it just tells you why it's notable. And it gives you a small chart right here, just basically showing why it is that way and what's up with it. So that's the trade tab on the web platform. So if we look at the other options here, so we went to the home page already. So if we go to the follow page, this just is all the Tasty traders that you have here. So this just shows what they're doing, all their live trades. They post them right here, and it shows you exactly. It makes you can visualize their trades. You can see their trades. You can trade it yourself if you want to. Basically, it shows you exactly what they do and when they do it, and that actually updates live too. So when they do it, and then they type in a little blurb here that says, they wanted more upside protection or whatever, and you follow their other trades, it might make more sense. So you have to just kind of look at them and see what works and what makes sense. I don't typically follow their trading strategies. Everyone does something different too, but if you're a new trader, definitely a cool tool to have. If you go into portfolio, this is where all your holdings are, how much money you have, all that good stuff you can see. A lot of this isn't right though, like the percentage of profitability is 25%. It doesn't really accurately always take in all the counts, all the factors that go into that. So it's usually like, if you notice, like if you go to follow and you see some of the people's like percentage of profitability, hers is 1%, and I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be working for Tasty Trade if she only profited 1% of the time, you know what I mean? So it's not always that accurate, but it works some of the time, the percentage of profitability on your portfolio. But it's just interesting to have. And then this is your extrinsic curve. It just shows how much extrinsic value you have, and intrinsic, it goes differently based on what your positions are and what you're holding. And here is the grid. So this is where you find, if you're looking for earnings plays, I like to look in here because I can see their IV rank and how many days till earnings, and like how many shares and all that good stuff right here. So if I'm looking for an earnings play, I usually come here because I can find their IV rank quickly too, all in the same area. And you can sort this out by however you want it. So this is what the original is, based on symbol, so alphabetical, net change in percent, the last price, IV rank, which I prefer, implied volatility. So this is the IV rank, this is the implied volatility based on the, I'm not entirely sure. There's two here. This is the 52-week implied volatility, which I usually go off of, or there's the implied volatility that's right now, which is in the white. But usually when we trade, we go off the 52-week IV rank here in the blue. And then this tab is for earnings. So when they have all these that have earnings today, you'll see it's 0 days or 1 day. So this is, as the sooner the date for earnings, the higher up it'll be here. And you'll notice that as well. So I usually trade on the IV rank here, the 52-week IV rank, and it tells you here all IV rank 0 to 100, including earnings between 0 and 120 days, any liquidity indicator. So that's how specific this page is here. And then you can change it however you want to your own. You can make your own. So the grind is one of my own playlists that I made, or not playlists, but yeah, stocks that I play frequently. And you could add whatever you like, and it gives you all the information on it. If you go to activity, it just shows all the trades you've made. This doesn't show a lot of them. This shows all of this month, but you can change the time and all that good stuff. It's good to keep track, but it's still kind of confusing how they log it, so it's not the best. If you go to analyze here, basically you can write a journal entry, which I don't really use, or you can type in whatever you want here and make a trade journal. This is a good tool to have if you get lost easily in what you're doing. So if you don't remember what you paid for a stock and how much you sold it for, this is good to have so you can kind of trace your hand, especially if you're new to trading, especially trading options. It's good to know what you did, and then that way you can see what worked and what didn't. and just look at your journal here based on what you bought and sold. So that's interesting. This is just the Tasty Trade tab, so it just shows the live trading. You can go through all their episodes from the day and see everything since they do this daily, and they have a whole bunch of things here. I like the integration because that's what their company was built off of. They're built off of the Tasty Trade. So Tastyworks is built by Tasty Trade, so it's cool to have this integration here. I like it for sure. As you can see, though, there's a lot of interesting things going on the desktop or on the web platform that you don't necessarily get with the desktop platform. So let's switch over there and see the difference now. Okay, so this is the desktop platform. As you can see, the interface is a little different. Just the home page here compared to the main page here. So you have all the stocks on the left here. This is, again, just the watch list that you can trade out. And then these are the ones you've looked up recently. So if you look at all the tabs, there are actually a lot different tabs than the ones we have on here. You don't get the grid. You don't necessarily get the portfolio. You don't get all of the things that come with here. If you go and look at here, you get your position. So this would be equivalent to the portfolio page, except it doesn't show you everything that you would be going. Like, it doesn't show the your average POP, percentage of profitability, but that's not that important because it usually calculates it wrong anyway. Like I said, if you go to portfolio page, this is what that number looks like based on all the things that you have, all the positions you have, and that's just not the case here. It also shows you something different than they do here. So here it doesn't show you your theta for everything or your delta, but here it shows you your delta and your theta for all your trades. So it's a little different. I don't know why there's a disconnect, but there's a major disconnect between the desktop and the web platform. I mean, they're two different animals. I mean, they don't even look the same. For the most part, they have a few similarities, but a lot of it's a whole lot different because this is basically the Dough platform that they just changed colors, and then this is basically a brand new whole different thing that they made, and a lot of it incorporates some of that stuff from the web platform, but most of it's pretty different. So like I said, this would be equivalent to the portfolio page. You can go here and see all your extrinsic. You'd have to add it up yourself though. It'll tell you on the other one. So here it'll show you my position. So on SPX, these black flags mean that I have a position, and these are the positions. So I currently have an iron condor on SPX. So if you want to look at how you trade on here, this would be equivalent to the trade tab on the web platform. So if you're looking at it here, like I said, the strikes, you can move the strikes, the width, how far out they go, so you can, minimize it, maximize it, or whatever you like to do. This is how many contracts. This is the same bar that's on the web platform on the trade tab. That's all of this stuff here, but minus, with the exceptions of a few things, and it's all integrated. So rather than having this up here and this right here, they just put all this stuff on the top and moved it down here. And you can see that right here. There's nothing up here, and most of it's all down here. So you got the price here. This is where you would change the price. I'm not looking for a particular trade, so I would never do anything like this, but these are just things I'm looking at here, just to show you the function of the desktop platform. So you can see here, you don't have, the one thing you don't have that's on the web platform, if you notice, there's not this. That will show you the, let's show you here. Let's go into it. That won't show you, before you review it, it won't show you if the price of ADBE ends up being greater than $124.95, your maximum possible profit is $5, and then the same for the loss. You don't have that here. There's nothing here. You can't click it. It won't tell you that. If you go and review and send, it will not tell you anything. It won't say that kind of thing. So on the web platform, it'll kind of hold your hand through the process and kind of show you. That means it's mostly for beginners. But on the desktop platform, that does not exist. It does not hold your hand. You have to have some basic understanding of what you're doing and what's going on. So that doesn't really necessarily bother me, but it does, I'm sure, bother other people who did use Dough and they wanted to use the desktop platform. I guess they'll have to be stuck using the web platform because this is basically the Dough platform just reskinned with a few extra features. So that's what we have here for the trade tab. It looks pretty similar. All your information's here, POP, yeah, extrinsic, delta, theta, and this is just for this trade, by the way. So if you change something on it, it'll change with it. It'll move and breathe based on the trade. So this is all on the trade right here. Not on what I currently have, but on what I'm looking at buying here. But I'm not actually looking at buying it, but you know what I mean. Whatever I'm speculating on, it'll change. And then you can just clear the slate if you want to. The cool thing is, if you do like leave this here, let's say I made this 6 days and went into 23.10, 23.15, and then let's say I jumped over to Apple and then hit go on here, and then went down, let's say, to 10 days and changed this, and then I went back up here and hit SPX, it will remember that trade that I just had. So that's pretty cool. It'll remember the exact trade that I had. So like if I'm looking at a trade, getting into a trade, but I want to wait to see how it's going to play out, I can just set it up, and then the price will change based on what it actually is. So that way I can just keep watching the trade and speculate on what I want, if it goes up or down. And if I go back to Apple, it'll also remember that trade. So I can just have a whole bunch up here and have 3 trades going and just be like, oh yeah, quick, I wanted to execute that trade on Apple. So I go over to it and then I hit review and send. And that's great. So it remembers what you're trading. The web platform also does that, but I don't think it's as good because you can just hit this right here and it'll go back. These are your recents, so whatever you were researching. So if you're researching the last 3 and you're looking at getting into a trade on them, it's pretty cool. On here, you don't have that. You have to just type it in like normal on the top left here. So yeah, that's basically what the difference is there. I like this a lot actually because I can just tap it real quick and it goes straight into where I had it. So a lot of things I do like the desktop platform more for, but if you're looking for more information and kind of like making it simpler, well, not simpler, but it lays out things for you a little clearer. It makes it a little easier to understand because it spells it out for you, which is no problem, especially if you're new. I know I needed things spelled out for me when I was brand new. So this is better for that in that regard. But if you're looking for something that's a little faster, a little more agile, and you already know what you're doing a little bit, you want to run a little faster, then this is what you'd be looking for. I will have to say, however, though, there is a few major glitches in the desktop platform that do come into play. I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but I know for me that when the platform is live and I go to Netflix, it will freeze it. So I'm not going to go there yet. Maybe I'll show you at the end of the video, but it will freeze it. It will not allow me to work on the platform anymore. I have to sign out and sign back in. It'll freeze everything, so I won't be able to load any more information. All the prices will stay exactly the same. They're not moving now because it's after hours, so nothing's really moving at all. So you'll notice that. But at the end of the video, I'll show you what Netflix does to my system. But right now, I'm gonna keep going through this. Under Activity tab, you'll notice all the things that I've traded in the last day or two. All of them are filled, obviously. I don't keep working orders up. I would have canceled them if they didn't fill, so there's really no point for that. It's a pretty simple tab, nothing crazy. You can change it if you want. Going into the watch list, you can change whatever you like here you can make your own. I made the grind because it is stocks that I like to trade, keep tabs on. Positions, if you have a little gray dot, that is indicative of you having a position on that stock. I don't know why Netflix is in here. I don't currently have a position on it. I did earlier. Perhaps it's accounting for that. I got rid of it earlier today, though, this morning. So maybe it hasn't caught up with it yet, which would be a major glitch. And then they integrated Tasty Trade into here, but a lot of times it doesn't work. It works if you hit ready. It's not playing right now if you hit the ready button. A lot of times, though, it does stop and skip, and it just doesn't work the way I want it to. And I've called them many times about just things freezing in general, and they've always told me to uninstall Tastyworks and reinstall it altogether. It's getting quite annoying, and I don't think that it's solving everything, but it does solve some of the freezing I've had in the past. Since I've been trading on Tastyworks since day one, I've been trading since they've opened, and I've had a lot of freezing problems. I still have that one with Netflix. I don't know why for me, but specifically Netflix freezes my platform, the desktop platform, and so I have to keep this open as well. When I trade, I keep both of these open because sometimes if this one freezes, I gotta change over this real quick. I gotta run over and I've gotta execute my trades because I don't have time for my brokerage to be freezing on me. So that's a major glitch that I just can't get over sometimes. So if you look over here, we're gonna look at the SPX chart. You can see that the charts aren't the best. They're pretty simple actually. You can zoom in and out on these. You can change these. I typically trade on the 15-minute chart, so I'm going to keep it at 15. And for whatever reason, when I change this to today, it usually doesn't load, but I think they fixed it recently because it just did work. But some of these don't work, so either they fix them all or maybe they did fix them all. All right, so before, if you were to go into any of these, you would hit today, this would instantly freeze or it wouldn't load. And typically it was the not loading part, but it's pretty crazy because I couldn't do anything about it. It just wouldn't load. It'd be like waiting for data. It'll say like that gray screen. It'll say waiting for data, but it'll never come. But they must have fixed it. So I like trading on the 15-minute timer because it allows me to make it a timely decision, not too short, not too fast. If you go into history, this just shows basically my transactions. So this is all for April 18th for today. And then you can see how much you've paid in commissions and in fees overall to the brokerage here. So you'll see I've paid $831 in commissions, and so they don't have closing. They don't take commissions on closing trades. It would have been double that, but there are the clearing fees, which are substantial, but no big deal there. And you can see my profit loss to date just on this small account that we've been running on Tastyworks just to test it out. We don't want to put too much money into it, so we just got roughly $5,000 in here. So we have the profit loss open. You can see my certain if I'm holding a position, you can see that it's filled with something here, but the ones I'm not holding, you can see how much profit I've made on these stocks specifically this year. So you can see $1,500 in Amazon, some little dollars on ANF, and some more things like that. Priceline 1,100, SPX 1,200. So you can kind of see that. It's kind of cool. Shows you all that stuff that you got going on there. And this follow page, in comparison to the web platform, it's pretty much the same. If you go to the follow page, this one I think though on the web platform is a little nicer personally. I think this one's a little better. And I think this was just an afterthought. It kind of looks crowded and not really user friendly. I would say that the desktop platform is very user friendly for people who already know how to trade options. And I would say that this is not user friendly for someone. The web platform is not user friendly for somebody who's never used Doe or anything that Tasty Trade has ever made. So if you're coming from like TD Ameritrade or E-Trade or Options House or Charles Schwab, I don't recommend you start off with the web platform because you need to. If you've never seen anything like it, you need to ease into it. I would recommend using the desktop platform because it's basically a simplified version of anything that you would see on any other brokerage. But if you're just starting and you've only ever known Tastyworks or Doe, then this is fine. You're like, oh yeah, I'm right at home right now. Especially if you use Doe, you're like, yeah, this is great. This is basically Doe. So you're feeling all right if you're in this position. If you already know what you're doing though, and you're coming from a different brokerage and you just want lower commissions, you're trying to execute them on Tastyworks, I recommend the desktop platform. So again, if you already know what you're doing and you are coming from another different brokerage, use the desktop platform. If you're only use Tasty Trade products like Doe or Tastyworks, then I definitely recommend using the web platform. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Subscribe to our video, like our video, and we'll come at you guys with some more. We're just going to put some more content out daily for you. And just remember, it's always us versus her, so join us.